Welcome to Quantum Astrology. I'm Julie Simmons. Today we're going to talk about returns. And of course these are planetary returns, not tax returns. But they're very important and astrologers pay a lot of attention to them. I think it's important to understand when we're talking like this, that you understand that when you're looking at your astrological chart, you're looking at a snapshot of the moment that you took your first breath, which is an awesome moment for all of us. And the astrology chart is the imprint of that moment. But even though that moment is set in, you're always going to use that picture when you're looking at somebody's chart, the planets never stop moving. They're always moving around the chart. So we say that the planets make transits, just like, buses and trains, right? They transit around the zodiac and they transit around our charts. And that movement is how we say what's happening in a person's life. So there are an amazing amount of combinations, I don't know if it's limitless, but that planets can make to each other. So when you were born, the moon was here and Saturn was here, but then as you were, living your life, Saturn goes around and it comes and it makes a conjunction to your moon and it squares your moon and whatever. So the transits of what's happening right now affect the planets inside your natal chart. So we call those transits, and any planet can transit another planet at any time. And then there's this other thing called returns. So returns are still about the planets moving around, but a return is about the fact that the planet moves around and it comes and conjuncts the place where it was when you were born. So if the moon was here when you were born, a month after you were born, the moon would return to the place where it was when you were born, because the moon takes a month to go around the zodiac. But if you had Saturn here, then it would take 29 years for that return to happen. Or if you had Jupiter there, it would take 12 years for Jupiter to return. But if you had Pluto here, it would take 248 years for Pluto to return. So nobody really has a Pluto return. Although it is interesting that the United States is having a Pluto return in the next few years. We can only wonder. So the idea of the returns is that the returns are transits, but we're calling them returns because they're the planet relating to itself. So I think of these returns, I call them events that happen on the human continuum. And the reason I do that is because returns always happen at the same age for everybody. Everybody has a Jupiter return when they're 12. Everybody has a Saturn return when they're 29. So these returns mark threshold moments of our existence as humans. So 12, for example, is adolescence, and a Jupiter return is the beginning of adolescence. And when I teach a workshop I'm recently teaching one called for the parents of teenagers, I'm talking to those parents about their teens because I know the teens are having Jupiter returns. They're all having Jupiter returns, and they're all having Saturn opposing Saturn, and all these things that are happening represent the events that happen to a person at a certain age all across the board. So you could think of it like this. Anybody's parents could die at any age, right? Your parents could die when you're 60 and they could die when you're 10. And that's a regular transit. But everybody has to lose their baby teeth at the age of 7 or around the age of 7, right? And if you don't, something's wrong with you, right? So the things that happen on the human continuum, those returns are about that. They're about the thresholds that we cross when we come to certain moments in our lives that are very important. So I think that's really all we need to know about returns in general. I'll just say that in my personal work, I'm fascinated by these returns, and so a lot of my workshops are based on, I teach a midlife crisis workshop, and that's based on the planetary aspects and returns that are happening in midlife. And I teach another workshop, and I wrote my book on becoming an elder in times of chaos, which is about what goes on between the ages of 55 and 61 in particular, and beyond. So that's where I get the information that I use to teach these age-specific workshops, because when you understand where you are on the human continuum, through the lens of astrology, you also understand what's required of you in terms of making the transition. So in the next quantum astrology show that we do, we'll talk about some specific returns. Bye.